I just don't think that's a here and now problem. I understand the logic that you're looking at where, people are, you're also going to turn people off that have been your mainstays. You're going to adjust and change the game. Like, what is the idea that you would love to see baseball besides the electronic strike zone? You want to throw pitch clock in there? I mean,
yeah,
okay, so what are the other ones you want to throw in there?
Well, it's not so much what I want, it's what I'm willing to
Well, what do you want baseball
tolerate.
to do?
Well, I want the strike. Listen, I want the strike zone, and I think a pitch clock would be good. I'm actually not someone who even really thought that the 3-batter rule was really all that necessary, but I'm going to see how it goes. I might warm up to it.
I mean, if baseball gets going, you're going to see 7-inning games. We know that, and you're probably going to see electronic strike zone. So what else you want? What else do you want?
I'm not saying I want anything. You're asking me what does baseball want, and me as a fan, what am I willing to
what do you think
accept?
baseball? No, my point being is, what do you think baseball needs to do to attract the young fan and keep the young fan?
Well, I don't think the 3-batter rule attracts the young fan and keeps the young fan, but they are trying to speed the game up.
Sure.
So but Tom Verducci has written about this extensively, that he doesn't think this is going to speed the game up at all, and not in a meaningful way, for sure. A minute here or there is not the problem that baseball has. They need to shave off like 15 to 20 minutes maybe from the game, and I think the pitch clock does a good job of that. So it's not
I don't
so
know.
much what I want to see. It's what
Can't
else
predict how the game's gonna be.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to predict the game, and it's not going to work.
See, I look at it. I think the game is the game, whether you like it or not. There's nothing that's you're not gonna be able to change and revolutionize the game if you don't have an appreciation for baseball at the start. There's nothing that baseball is gonna make you do and say, well, I can tolerate it for 2 hours, but I'm unwilling to sit there for 3. Isn't that, in essence, the argument that we're making here in terms of speeding up the game? See, baseball, the conversation around the sport of baseball for the last 3 or 4 years has been not about what's good about the game, it's been about what's wrong with the game. And I do think that conversation, from my vantage point, has grown to be a little bit tiresome. I look at it to where if you like the game or if you don't like the game, if I don't like watching something and I don't find that watching a game enjoyable, I'm not going to tune into that game just because it's 2 hours instead of 3.
Yeah, but Lucy,
Or
you're not,
2 hours and
coming at it.
45 minutes instead of 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
If
but
I
you're
don't
not,
like the
you're
game,
not,
I don't like the game.
But you're not coming at it from where Major League Baseball's coming at it from. You're coming at it from you singularly as a viewer. They're coming at it as an entity, right? They're coming at it as, we need to try to grow our market share.
I understand
try to
that,
stay relevant, right?
but here's the deal. Stop talking about what's wrong with the game.
Well, I think they're just
What
trying
do you-
I don't
what
think
do
that baseball's just trying to say, how can we enhance the game? I think no team plays into this nostalgia of their
But
sport
how
more
is
than
it
baseball.
enhancing the game? How is it enhancing the game? We talk about pace of play. Why do we talk about pace of play? Because the growing feel and the thought process is that young fans don't want to sit there and basically in today's day and age where everything is at their fingertips, young fans don't want to sit there for a 3-hour game. 2 hours is long, right? I mean, is that really kind of...
I think actually the argument is well, yeah, attention spans. But what
Attention span stinks. I mean, in today's day and age, attention span stinks. I mean, it's terrible.
it's all talking about.
Well, I mean, nobody wants... People are sitting there on TikTok staring at that for hours upon hours.
Right,
Meanwhile, you can't pay attention to a 3-hour baseball game.
Well, but here's the thing, what they're talking about. It's even what's happening within the game. So there have been revolutions that have happened in baseball that have been maybe good for front offices and good for certain types of baseball, for certain aspects of baseball, but maybe not best for what's the product on the field. Because you're talking about not a lot of action that happens because of a few things. Obviously, the pitching is amazing. Not that it hasn't been great, but it's a strikeout and it's a home run league right now. And along with the shift, there's just not as much action as we used to have, like when I was growing up, or even 10 years ago. Forget when I was growing up. That's the freaking 80s. But I'm talking about it's not just the actual time of the game. It's what happens during
action is the action. It's not the same as NBA. It's not the same as the National Hockey League, and there's no inherent violence like there is in the National Football League. So, I mean, isn't it we're going around in this cyclical debate. Even if you go in and you say you speed up the game by 15 minutes,
I'm starting not to like that merge from
appreciate the game more now than they did before because they have 15 minutes of their life back, or is it a case of either you like the game or you don't?
Far left lane of the LIE.
I'm
starting not to like it.
Why can't it be both? Like,
It's a
why
dangerous
can't you try
merge.
to speed it up, and why
Because you got to speed up and then get into the left lane and make sure you're at speed.
during the game?
Okay, let's expand on this. How we
This is what baseball's trying to figure out.
No, I get it, but let's you and I have a little conversation. So, in terms of extending or making more action, what do you want to do in terms of making more action?
Well,
Now,
if
there's
you
one
really
thing
want to,
when
you can eliminate the shift.
well, or you can teach hitters how to hit the other way.
Sure, right.
I mean, or it's a case of the hitters have gotten so lazy, so pole oriented, where now baseball is basically hammered home a launch angle and hitting the ball over the park, over the fence. Strikeouts are up, home run rates are up. That's why Luke Voigt was plucked the way he did, because the Yankee scouts looked at his launch angle, and they got enticed by his launch angle and what he could do at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. And here we have Luke Voigt establishing himself as a player here with the Yankees. And that's great, but that's the way the game has evolved. Is that a positive or negative? See, I could look at a guy like Mark Teixeira, who was an all-around great hitter before he showed up with the Yankees, and then became so pull-happy because he basically dropped to his knees about the short porch in right field that he evolved to I would say this, a worse hitter as a Yankee than he was before that. Because Mark Teixeira before that, whether he was a Texas Ranger, he could hit all fields. When he showed up at Yankee Stadium, he became so pull-happy. So, yeah, you can eliminate the shift, Maggie, but then I would say, well, you're advocating to the players, because the players have become lazy as hitters to where they're not hitting the other way or taking advantage of the shift and trying to do what they can as a player. They're becoming lazy as hitters because they continue to pound the ball into the shift.
Right. So I would hesitate to ever say that anyone's being lazy about that, because I think hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in professional sports. So I don't think it's about them necessarily being lazy. I think, the players who have said, get rid of the shift is
You think the players are working just as hard on pulling the baseball as they are on trying to hit the ball the other way?
I think it depends on team to team, honestly, because I saw the Mets have a philosophy when Chili Davis came where all of a sudden they were going the opposite way, and it was amazing, So I do think it's a team-by-team philosophy in a lot of ways, but most we got to put our baseball conversation just on pause for a second, because Dr. Brian McDonough is with us. If you listen to our show, he's been joining us now for the better part of a month, a little bit more. Of course, Temple School of Medicine and a contributor to 10-10 Wins. Dr. McDonough, thank you again for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys doing?
Good, Doc. How's everything? All right. Where are we? What's the latest in terms of? I've heard some, Governor Andrew Cuomo talk about a plateauing here of the curve in New York City. What are the stats of where are we at right now with the spread?
Well, there's a couple things happening. The first thing is, obviously, they had the highest number of deaths, which is very disturbing. But at the same time, as the governor said, it often lags behind the numbers that you see because people are very sick and they're in the hospital. And he believes at least what they're seeing is a decrease in hospital admissions, which is one way of saying that we seem to have fewer people, who are sick enough to get to the hospital. Now, part of that, if you look at the big number, could also be, I know in my hospital, we're not admitting as many other people as we may have because we're trying to save as much, resources as we can. If we can handle people at home, we do. But all that being said, they were trying to do that a week ago, and we're seeing a less.
There was a traffic light here,
a
isn't
trend
it?
is
Yeah, there
made
is.
by a couple
Yeah, I
days,
got
but
it.
I'll tell you, it's good news to see that because if it's starting to make a difference in all the
No, I
social
get why.
distancing and the things that New Yorkers
So
are
everybody and their
doing,
kid brother
I think
flies
it's
onto
starting,
here.
to start to show
Because they're either
rewards.
coming
I
off
know
of
it's greatly
Woodhaven,
appreciated by
or they're
everybody
coming
in
off of
healthcare
Queens
because,
Boulevard,
the worst case
or
is when you're
something
overwhelmed and
along
you
those.
need to showing their resources around people.
Tests right now, Dr. McDonough, that was something that was really a major issue
get why they did it, but you know.
Needs a test now. Are they getting tests?
it doesn't appear to be a virus that's mutating or changing a lot on the fly. And that's important because the more it stays the kind of virus that you're expecting it to be, and the more it doesn't turn into something else, the more time we have for next vaccine testing and reliable protection. Because the way this will work in the long run is you don't want everybody exposed, obviously, and suffering. But a certain number of people who are exposed, that virus won't be able to do much to them because they already have built antibodies. Other people may have a vaccine. They will have artificial antibodies. And then the virus doesn't really have anywhere to go, and it starts to kind of flake out. Right now, and when we call them people naive, like naive hosts, someone who has never been exposed is naive, and that means the virus loves that kind of environment because that's where it will grow, thrive, and take over. And then we have to eliminate those hosts so it doesn't have anywhere to go, and that's how it starts to die down and also binds to time.
Now, Doc, what about the effects on an individual? Because there's been a lot of misinformation that it was going to affect people that were 65 or older, underlying conditions. You mentioned the great array in terms of some people might feel a full brunt of it, some might not. What about those, and what do we know now about what communities that really hit it?
Well, it definitely still, by and large, it does attack older than 60. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, you read the case of Boris Johnson, he's 55. But, see, as you get older, it's
hell of a drive.
Also, if you have something underlying that has affected your
that little bitty thing,
diabetes, things like that, you are more likely to have a greater battle with it. And it's a combination of things. First, are you as strong to fight it? But two, how aggressive is it finding your weaknesses? I mean, we are seeing people who have been and you, I'm sure know stories, they were in great condition, they're working out, they're exercising, they're eating well.
You guys need to move, man. I'm not trying to be in this truck's blind spot.
It happens, but it doesn't happen as much as the other group. And that's kind of why you're seeing more fatalities in the elderly or nursing facilities or places like that. It definitely attacks older people more, just like really the flu would do as well. It kind of picks weaknesses and attacks them because how much reserve and resistance do you have?
Dr. Brian McDonough is our guest, contributor to 1010 Wins, Temple University School of Medicine. And, Dr. McDonough, we're all for good news, right? And we're looking for anything at this time to show that, maybe there's a lessening or maybe we're going to be by our peak or anything like that. But how important is it going to be for the medical community to be still sending out the message that it's not the all clear, right? Like, we want the good news, but you're seeing in other societies where you're seeing good news and then you'll see like another sort of wave of the virus kind of come back. First of all, should we be anticipating that in the New York area, in the Northeast? And how do you get that message out that even if we are maybe past the worst part of it, which I don't even know if we are yet, I'm not saying that, but that it doesn't mean that we're all okay to start gathering and start, not wearing masks and things like that?
Well, that is a great question, because if you think about it, my biggest fear is that it's human nature. Anything you do that's tough, you just can't wait to go out and celebrate that it's over. And you're asking people weeks on end.
This guy's in the fucking right lane. What an asshole. He wouldn't even fucking let me merge.
With my dad or something. You think, what was that like? And you just want that more than anything. But that's going to be the challenge, to say, all right, we're over this hump, but we can't go right back to it. We have to keep doing it. And it's going to be tough. I don't care what age you are, young, you're old.
What is this guy doing?
Stay disciplined. And that's going to be the focus. And the second focus is dealing with people who feel they haven't had those outcomes. They're anxious. I keep telling my kids, a couple times a day, really think about that. I get anxious. I start thinking about like 15 minutes. And I go, all right, let's get it together. It'll be all right. Let's break this together. And you get caught when you're not feeling that way. You're probably not thinking about it. I'm not saying I want people to be anxious, but reality is that's there. Like, it's fear. What's the basic? You still have to realize when you go to the store and you have a chance to go here or there, what will be those requirements and what will we do? And I just think we have to make sure, as Dr. Fauci said, this is when you keep the foot on the gas. And I think there's great leadership in New York. I think we really are seeing people coming out and helping and doing things. And I think communities are coming out and helping and doing things. And I think that's where the strength will have to be. We kind of have to. This is a case where it really is all of us together, kind of working together as a team. Everybody, nobody's more important and nobody's less important.
He's in a hurry too. He's trying to pass the other car. The other car won't let him.
Yep. I am in no hurry whatsoever. Mind you, I slowed down to 25 and it still did that. It's a big freaking bump. It's a big bump, and then like one of those little bitty construction plates. It's a pain in the ass. That's why I take the tunnel on the way back, honestly.
We have to make sure that the healthcare
that's some funny shit.
In general is
all that
and
bullshit, cut me off at the merge, not
really
letting me merge in. I still caught up to his dumbass.
It's a sacred trust.
All that bullshit.
We all are dependent
for
on
what?
And we're not selling product. We're just people's lives. I think when we go forward, hopefully we'll learn lessons from this and do what we can to be more concerned about maybe having something in the reserve that might not make sense financially, but could be important if something like this were to happen.
Yeah, it's not the same as a regular business. You guys take an oath. You take a Hippocratic oath.
Don't go into me. I'll kick your ass.
And I'm curious about the treatments. You said obviously a vaccine takes a much longer time to test. What is the shortest amount of time that a drug could be tested where, a doctor would feel comfortable prescribing that to a patient?
Well, it's interesting. You get to the point where you talk about, it's called compassionate use. If there's something that can work, and I'm talking about a patient whose back's to the wall, they're on a ventilator and things aren't going well, and they've tried traditional things, and they know this is, this could go in a really bad way. I think that's when you kind of take the handcuffs off and say, use these things. I mean, what the president is saying makes some sense in that why are we holding for testing, but I'm not a big fan. Like, if somebody's still early on in the process of a condition and they're healthy, I don't think you run in with a medicine right away. But when you get further along, or there's they're turning a corner, that's when some of these things I think can be used, and we just got to get the knowledge out to the physicians. Most of the doctors on the front lines who are doing that kind of work are usually the intensive care, the intensivists, or infectious disease doctors. So they need to keep having, the thoughts and those weapons and the ability to get them. And we're learning from each and every country and each and every city that battles this. We're learning more and more what we can do. For instance, patients on the ICU, you keep them prone, which is different than we used to have them lay when they're on a ventilator, but they seem to do better that way. Like, we're learning from experience, and we have to take all those lessons and continue, to teach each other, because time is of the essence.
Doc, you mentioned blood shortage. Are we? I got a text. I've donated blood in the past, and got a text asking if if I could donate blood. Not this week, but moving forward here. Are we at a blood? Are hospitals at a blood shortage?
There's always an underlying shortage, but it's definitely much